From the beautiful campus of Casper College, it's time to dive into the world of Casper College athletics with another episode of the Casper College Coaches Show. Now here's your host, Phil Kohler.
Welcome fans to the Casper College Coaches Show. I'm your host, Phil Kohler, joined as always by the men's basketball coach here, Tom Parks. Coach, another split this weekend. You guys moved to 5-5 on the season. It feels like they're starting to get some traction, going in the right direction. When are we going to see you guys bust out and turn that into 6-7 wins in a row?
Yeah, I'm looking for the same thing. I tell you what, I was joking around with Coach Dion the other day. I'm like, man, we just can't figure out how to win 2 in a row.
Sure,
you know what
yeah.
I mean? So, like, that's kind of – it's like we win one, we lose one, we win one, we lose one. Obviously, we've talked about the schedule we've played, and we don't really necessarily have, like, an easy opponent on the schedule. So, but I'm waiting for it. It's something we talk about within our group, and, you know, we talked about we have our schedule on the back of our team notebooks, and I had them turn over the schedule on Saturday before the McCook game. I'm like, you guys tell me a game on that schedule that we have from here on out that we can't win. And they're like, there's none of them that we can't win. So all winnable games, you know, and, you know, we're looking to make that run too.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're looking forward to having you guys back in town again this weekend. First time this season where you guys play at home back-to-back. So we're really looking forward to seeing that again on Friday. Before we get that far in, let's talk about last week. Friday night, you guys lose to a very, very good North Idaho team, 82-79. Abdul Bashir with 19 points. Malik Rebetez adds 16 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. Talk a little bit about what that game did and the battle that you guys showed from your guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think getting down in the first half, we really showed, you know, some resiliency and some ability to overcome adversity, which was nice to see. Part of me was like, maybe we just forgot how to play at home. Like, we hadn't played at home in so long, and we've only played 2 home games this year, even including the exhibition games. So, you know, it was nice to be back at home. It was just like we were hoping to start a little bit quicker than what we did. And I think when you play against a good team, it's hard to start the game 10 minutes into the game.
Sure.
And give the other team, you know, a 22-point lead. Yeah. And then it's also tough when you shoot 14 for 31 from the free throw line. So it's like, as a coach, and we've talked about it, it's like, it's tough for me to be too upset at how we played when, you know, you make 4 more free throws, which is still probably below average percentage, and we win the game.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, well, and, you know, speaking of that, you talk about you guys started the game 10 minutes late. From that point on, you guys outscored them by 19 points.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you guys really showed a lot of resilience in a game that you could have down 22 midway through the first half. You guys could have laid down and walked away with that, but you guys showed a lot of heart. You battled back. Talk about what that resiliency is going to be for not just right now, but also looking forward to the future.
Right. Well, I can tell you that people of Casper, Wyoming, have been extremely supportive. Because the next day, you know, I was kind of in the stands a little bit and doing some things, and people were like, hey, you guys played a good game yesterday. And of course, as a coach, like, I'm still irritated about the loss. Yeah. But people are like, you know, they fought back and, you know, they play together on the court. So it's nice to see, you know, people notice those things. But yeah, it's tough, and it's something that we got to work on. And probably, you know, one of the biggest focus of our teams recently has been playing 40 minutes.
Sure.
You know, we can play 25 minutes against a not very good team and probably win.
Yeah.
But when you start playing the really good opponents and you're not playing somewhere close to that 40-minute mark, a complete game, it's tough to win. So.
Yeah, well, and I would say that, you know, that's that eternal optimism in the Casper fans, but I also think that a lot of it is that these Casper fans know good basketball, and they can see, even though you guys struggle a little bit in the first half, they can see that the team is coming together and showing strides, just like you and I have talked about each week on here. So Nate Sasser, a guy that plays a lot more aggressive, it looked like this weekend, especially crashing the boards offensively. Didn't get a couple of layups to fall, but had 6 offensive rebounds there. Talk about what Nate brings to the table and can bring to the table in the future, especially on the glass.
Absolutely. I think Nate's probably grown more as a player than anybody in our program. And not to say that it's not to say that he's made this incredible, like, jump in his development, but I think there's always an adjustment from being a high school senior, you know, going into competitive junior college basketball or college basketball at any level. And so Nate's just done an incredible job at learning the system, understanding his biggest strengths and how we can bring those, you know, to our program and to our system in the way that we want to play. And I think Nate Sasser fits perfectly in terms of how we want to play. We want to play fast. We want to be aggressive. We want to press. We want to do all those things. And once Nate really starts to figure out even more, I think people are going to really like the product that he's going to put out there.
Sure, definitely a high energy guy, and
Right.
again, the people of Casper really like to watch guys
Absolutely.
like that. So, moving on to Saturday, you guys bounce back again. You beat McCook 86-77. Darius Robinson gets 30. Abdul Bashir gets 23. Nathaniel Talich gets a spot start there because Malik Rebetez out with a potential injury. Do you want to kind of talk about Malik's injury and kind of where he's at?
Yeah, we got good news from an X-ray and an MRI standpoint. There's a weird fall in the North Idaho game where a couple attempted charges by North Idaho, and there was kind of a little bit of a dog pile, and his wrist kind of bent back, and then had someone fall on him. So, honestly, we thought it was broke, and that's kind of what medical staff thought, and so they were very surprised that it wasn't. So right now it's kind of a pain tolerance thing, and he asked our athletic trainer when he got back from the MRI yesterday, "Can I practice today?" And she was like, "Well, let's just hold up a little bit." So, but it's nice. He's got that urge to get back. But when we started Nate Talich, our biggest thing was who can we start that just provides that same level of security.
Sure.
And we've talked about it before. Nate Talich doesn't make many mistakes on the court, and so Malik runs the show. He's the anchor of our team, and so we had to, even though it's a different position, and Nate's not a point guard, we had to put someone in there that we really trusted to be able to do all the little things, not try to do too much.
Sure, and Nate played very well Friday night as well when he came in off the bench, kind of sparked that comeback. But Malik is a guy that played probably his best game of the season on Friday and was kind of trending in that right direction. You hate to see somebody like that get hurt.
Absolutely.
So you guys come back, you again fall out to an early deficit. You battle your way back to Saturday. You guys shoot it much better, 76% from the free throw line. I'm not saying that that's the difference in the game, but it certainly helps.
Absolutely. I mean, when it's a 9-point game, and one of our goals is to try to make more free throws than the other team attempts. So we're trying to get to the free throw line. We're getting to the free throw line. We just haven't had a lot of success at making them. It's been weird. It's been kind of a roller coaster.
Sure.
But I can tell you, Friday night after the game, sometimes you walk in the locker room and you have a certain message you're trying to give, and you kind of know it depending on the loss, but it's hard. Like, what am I going to do? Talk about how we missed free throws for 20 minutes?
Yes.
And some coaches have actually gone away from the post-game speech, right? Like, let things resonate a little bit, maybe talk about it the next day. I'm still a little bit more old-fashioned. We go in the locker room. But I was kind of getting a lot of blank stares from the guys when I was rambling and probably more venting than anything. And so I'm like, you know what? Let's go out to the court. Let's shoot free throws. And then they go out there and they're like, "Coach, there's some kids that want our autograph." And I was like, well, you better sign all the autographs first before you start shooting free throws. So we spent about 40 minutes Friday night shooting free throws after the game. But, and again, is that the reason we shot 76%? No, it's not. But I do think that we're understanding, like, how important every possession, how important every free throw is, because you never know what the final score is going to be.
Absolutely. A conversation that you and I have had pretty much every week on this show, talking about every possession. So overall, again, another split. What's the biggest takeaway that you have from this weekend for your guys?
We're still, like you said, we're still trending in the right direction. Again, it's tough to be upset. You can be upset when you shoot 14 for 31, but I don't think there's a guy on our team that walks up to the free throw line and is like, I think I'm going to brick this one right now.
Yeah.
And so, honestly, we're working a lot on, the mental part of free throws, as well as we've kind of created a system and get them in the gym more to shoot free throws, because it's tough when games come down to free throw shooting. But, we're trying the biggest focus is putting 40 minutes together.
Sure.
And to do that, if we have a 2-hour practice, we got to have, 120 minutes.
Right.
If it's, an hour and a half, we got to have 90 minutes. And so the biggest focus that we've had this week in practice is we need a complete practice. I think it's tough to have an incomplete practice, 2 out of 4 days or 3 out of 4 days, and then expect in the game that you're just going to be perfect. And so that's been the biggest thing, is when we start to see a little bit of dip in practice, instead of, maybe just riding that out, it's like, look, how can we change right now so that we can win today?
Sure. Well, and I got to imagine that's difficult. We're newcomers coming in, especially like you said with Nate as a freshman coming in and getting used to the intensity of practice. A guy that is used to that intensity, Darius Robinson, comes in. He gets 30 points on Saturday, leading your team in scoring. But I know he brings a lot more to the table than just his ability to score the basketball. Talk about his sophomore, his leadership, and what he brings to the table off the court.
Yeah, and Darius it's an interesting one for me because he's a guy I didn't recruit, and you can ask some of our guys about the recruitment process, but with me it's pretty thorough. It's not like, let me call you up, talk to you about hoops, offer you, like, are you going to come here? Like, we spend a lot of times months recruiting guys, even at our level. And so Darius, with being someone that I didn't recruit, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to get out of him. And somebody who didn't initially sign to come back to Casper and kind of was like, well, I don't know you, I want to see what's out there. So we kind of had to re-recruit him. Sure. But I've thoroughly, from the bottom of my heart, loved coaching Darius up to this point. Yeah. He's just, he's a guy that plays with a chip on his shoulder, but he's just fun to be around. Yeah. He has like this competitive nature about him, but at the same time, like he can be lighthearted. And I think that's hard. A lot of times when guys are casual, like joking around, they can't flip that switch. And like with Darius, that competitive switch is always on.
Sure.
But he's coachable. He's a great leader. He's a great teammate. I mean, I joke around that he doesn't pass the ball because he doesn't average very many assists, but like no one on the team wants him to pass the ball.
Yeah, right.
Like he's a guy that just makes plays in clutch situations and has big games. And, I couldn't be more proud of him. And I'm really excited to see like, the rest of this year, how it goes for him, but also like his basketball career moving forward, because I just think he's a special talent, a special person.
Sure. And everybody's gotten a chance to see that intensity and that gamemanship here. But now we're going to spend 94 feet getting to know him a little bit more and having a little bit more fun with Darius Robinson. This is 94 feet with Darius Robinson. Darius, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, first question. Who's the greatest basketball player of all time?
LeBron James.
Ouch. You're down to 3 seconds left on the clock. You need one player on your team to make a free throw. Who's making it?
JP.
Who's got the best nickname on the team?
I'm going to say Abdul. Rashid.
Why is Rashid?
Because we was playing at Snow College. I guess they didn't know how to pronounce his name, or they didn't know it. They was calling him Rashid.
All right, guy from Chicago. A couple of tough Chicago questions. Which city is windier, Chicago or Casper?
Casper.
What's the best pizza joint in Chicago?
Giordano's.
I totally agree with that. That's my favorite too. Last question, and a serious one. Cubs or Sox?
Sox.
This has been 94 feet with some guy I don't even know anymore. Wow. Darius Robinson. Welcome back, fans of the Casper College Coaches Show. So, Coach, looking ahead this week, again, you guys are back in town, back-to-back weekends at home. Great opportunity for the fans to come out again. You guys will start Friday night with Colorado Northwestern here at 7:30, a team that you've seen already this year in a high-scoring battle. You beat them 104-91. They're 5-4 in the season. Talk about what we can expect from Colorado Northwestern.
Yeah, I mean, they're a tough, scrappy team. They play really well together. They run a lot of 5-out stuff on offense. They've really, even, we played them, I guess it'll be like 2 weeks ago by the time we play them, maybe 13 days. And the progression they've had even just in that short amount of time, they've been really well coached up to this point, and they just know their stuff. And so it's a thing where they don't try to do too much. They know who their guys are. They try to put them in situations to score, and they play really hard. They're definitely a team that coming into it, being that we beat them, like they know they can play with us, sure, and they're gonna come out trying to win that game,
yeah, for
sure.
Another Region 18 opponent that you guys, right, you see Region 18 is just tough from top to bottom, right. So you know what to expect from them. High-scoring game the first time. Can we expect something similar? I mean, is it going to be in the hundreds? First team to 100 is going to win, something like that?
I mean, I want to play in the hundreds every night. You know, I mean, I know some people are like, man, let's keep this game in the 50s, players, yeah, but I'm trying to put on a little bit of a show, and I think that it all goes into the philosophy of, if we can average 100 points a game, like that's a lot more points to go around for our guys.
Absolutely.
And I know a lot of it is the style at which we play, but college coaches are going to look at stats.
Sure.
And if we're getting easy layups because of turnovers and dunks and open threes, like our efficiency is going to be much higher. And so I want to play every game, but I do think it'll be, they've got 8 or 9 in their rotation. I don't know if one kid's going to be playing. He didn't play last game because I think he got hurt. But, I mean, especially when a team doesn't have a ton of depth in terms of how many guys they play, like we're going to try to really increase that pace. Absolutely.
Well, and speaking of turnovers, you guys move on Saturday. You play Frank Phillips College out of Region 5 at 4 o'clock again here in Casper, a team that comes in only averaging 8.8 turnovers a game. Right. How do you speed a team like that up and get them to turn the ball over so that you can get a lot of those easy layups like you talked about?
Right. Well, it's going to be a very interesting game. I watched a little bit of the game last night. They played at Lamar. They lost 59-51. And, again, you just don't see scores in the 50s at our level, And so I think you're going to see like a tough defensive-minded team in in Frank Phillips. But you're also going to see a team like they're going to try to do the opposite to us. Yeah. I mean, they're going to, if they can, they're going to walk the ball up.
Sure.
And so I think it's going to be a really fun game for fans and to play, because it's like one team's going to see how slow they can play and one team's going to see how fast you can play. And I think dictating the tempo will be a big factor in who wins that game.
Absolutely. They talk in boxing a lot about how styles make matchups. I mean, two different styles from two different teams. Both should be pretty good matchups. Should be fun to watch for sure. A team that comes in 2-8 now on the season. What's the message to the guys? I'm sure they look at a record and they say, okay, this team's 2-8. We should come in and walk all over them. But obviously a team that's played a really tough schedule so far. How do you portray that to the guys and make sure that they know, like, this is still a really good basketball team?
Right. Well, I think when you're us and you're 5-5,
sure.
You know what I mean? It's really easy. I think all of our guys would say we're better than 5-5.
Sure.
You know, and so yeah, I mean 2-8's a little bit worse record on paper, but again, when you dissect it and you see some of the teams they've played, you know, and they're in a tough region, so you know they recruit accordingly, and they've had, you know, they've got a limited roster in terms of number of guys on the roster and number of guys they play, but I think so far this year guys have respected their opponents.
Sure.
You know, I don't think starting off North Idaho slow was we didn't respect them. I don't think starting off McCook was we didn't respect them. You know, we're trying to figure out how to start a little bit better, but they're a good team, and I think knowing it's a Texas JUCO, you know, we talk a lot about JUCO hoops within our team, and so I think they'll be excited for the challenge and to play a team from a really good region.
Sure. So we spend a lot of time talking about opponents, right? We spend a lot of time talking about, you've got Colorado Northwestern, Frank Phillips. You always like to turn the conversation back onto your guys. Yeah. So I'm going to give you a question. What's one thing that you really want to focus on for your team this weekend? What's one thing that we can kind of keep an eye on that you're really going to try to put a lot of emphasis on as these two games come up this weekend?
Well, we've really spent a lot of time, even Saturday morning and shoot around last week all the way through this week on finishing. You know, it's some things that we've worked on a lot in the fall, and I think as you start progressing into team stuff, you know, sometimes you go away from some of that skill development. So to be quite honest, we've got the pads out this week, and we've kind of been beating up the guys with the pads, you know, both interior players and perimeter players, you know, working on game finishing. It's interesting because as a coach, like I look at our X's and O's and I look at, you know, where we're at, and I feel like we're in a great place. There's some teams you go home and I sit on the couch with my wife and I'm like, we need to change everything. We need to change the offense. We need to stop pressing. We need to do this. We need to do that. We need to change the starting lineup. And like with this team is, you know, we've lost games on finishing and free throws, which is something I don't think that can be a trend the whole year. And at first I thought, we're college basketball players. We're going to make free throws and layups. I'm like, that's silly. Like, what can we do as a staff? So we've made them, you know, get in the gym and make more makes and check in with a coach and do it while coaches are in the office. You know, we've spent a lot of time on free throws in practice. We spent a lot of time in finishing and game finishes on practice. So we're just looking to complete the plays a little bit better.
Well, and like you said earlier, it's not like guys are going and trying to miss layups, right? They're not going and trying to miss free throws. So is it a confidence thing? Is it just a reps thing? Is it just a little bit of everything where you're just trying to get more of them seeing the ball go through the hoop and build that confidence up?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's a mental thing when you step up to the free throw line and you're like, oh my gosh, we lost the last game because of free throws. Like, I got to do my part. I got to make this free throw. And that's not a great mindset when you step up to the line. So we talked about like a lot of like free throw imagery and using 5 cents. I'm a big like sports psychology guy. So using like the mental reps, like in your room, like get 10 mental reps, you know, every night where you're like you trying to get all 5 senses going. You know what it feels like to shoot a free throw in a game. You know what it's like to shoot a free throw in our gym. Like put yourself in that situation. Hear those thoughts come up where you think about, oh man, I got to make this free throw. And then when you're shooting that mental rep, be like, no, I got this. Like, I'm trusting my work. Like, let me knock it down.
Absolutely.
You know, so that's kind of, and the same thing with layups. It's like there is such thing as a good layup and a bad layup.
Sure.
Some of the layups we miss are bad layups.
Sure.
So shot selection, but also again, just like repping out tough layups and getting hit with pads and trying to finish through contact.
Absolutely. So, Coach, last weekend, Thanksgiving weekend, we have a great turnout both Friday and Saturday night here at the Swede. You guys back at home again, Friday night 7:30, Saturday at 4 o'clock. Make your pitch to the fans. Why do they need to come out here and watch your T-Birds this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, really just come out and support us. I think you'll like the brand of basketball, and I've kind of mentioned this on social media and on Twitter. It's like, just stick with us because we're getting better. And I think you can easily come and see a game and realize like we have the talent there, but these guys are hard playing. They're tough. I think they really represent, the Casper community in terms of toughness and playing together and figuring things out. And so just stick with us and come out. And it's 4 really good college basketball teams in Casper, Wyoming. So I think it'd be a great Friday, Saturday thing to do.
Yeah, and I'll say likable too. I feel like you guys are very
Absolutely.
likable. They're very easy to cheer for, both on the court and off the court.
Absolutely.
So, Coach, best of luck to you this weekend. Fans, remember, always shoot for the stars, because even if you miss, there's always a chance for an offensive rebound. Thanks for joining us.